Hello. It is the early evening of August something. August 23rd, 2021. Hope you're doing well. You guys know these days just kind of blend now. It's like, what day of the week is it? What day of the month is it? Like, it's weird. But anyway, it is the 23rd. Hope you're doing well. So we're going to continue our discussion. Excuse me. Having to do with resistance. And the next point that we want to touch on and maybe develop, we'll just see how this goes, is having to do with resistance that comes from within. And that is a thing. And it's at least equally as strong as any forces that come in on us from without. And it's difficult sometimes to navigate through it because we've just come to feel like, okay, whatever comes into my mind is my thoughts, and they originate with me, and so they're authentically me. And that's not necessarily the case always, because let's just say this and then we'll get on with it. We are all conditioned. If you're able to listen to a recording and kind of follow it to any extent, you've been conditioned too. We all have. And that just means that our environment and everything that we have been taking in from the moment of our birth, maybe even before, I don't know about that, but all of those experiences have shaped and have had a hand in shaping and molding the way we function in this place. And sometimes our responses to things seem like immediate reaction. So we assume that, okay, so that must be coming right from myself. But not necessarily, because a lot of these experiences that we've had, they have, let's just see how we put this. They kind of weave into the fabric of who we identify as in this place. And that starts practically from birth, maybe even before. I mean, there's a lot of research now saying that even, before a baby is born, that it's experiencing a lot, and it's feeling the mother's feelings to some extent, and all of this kind of stuff. And so, but whatever the case, we're conditioned, and that just basically, in a nutshell, that means that outside influences, the outside world has influenced us, and kind of sometimes we take on certain ideas and beliefs that are not really originally our own, whether and then we're not even saying that conditioning is necessarily a bad thing. We're not saying that, but whether it's early caregivers, our parents, our teachers, whoever was part of our upbringing early on, and then through our, when we're getting a little bit older and into our teens and on, even into adulthood. Many people don't realize that even in adulthood, that we're still influenced by the people around us, the people that we work with, the culture that we happen to be born right smack in the middle of. If we were born on one side of the planet, we're not going to adopt the beliefs of some culture clear across the other side of the world that's completely different from where we were born, right? And so those things factor in, and some of the ideas that get passed on may be beneficial for us. They help us. We mentioned teachers and caregivers and people that have our best interest at heart, usually, hopefully. And so we learn. And but at any rate, when we come into our adulthood, by the time we're adults, we've just taken on a lot of the ideas and the beliefs of those around us, and those who, and not everybody around us, those who, for whatever reason, we resonate with whatever they're saying or doing or sharing, and so we respond and we take it in, and so that's how it goes. But sometimes when we are on our journey, we're each on our own individual journey, as scary as that might be, to realize that at some point it's an alone experience. When we begin the journey of introspection and really trying to peel back the different layers of things to really discover the essence of who we are, we discover that a lot of the culture and the ideas have been deeply ingrained in us, and sometimes we don't notice that. And sometimes, like we said at the outset, sometimes an idea comes into our thoughts, and we own it as our own originally. And sometimes it's kind of a mix. It's like some of what we feel to be true, and some of what we feel to be true on the level of being part of whatever it is. We absorbed it. So how does this relate to resistance? So we want to say first, before we enter into that part of the discussion, that within our essence, within the deepest part of us, of what we are, there's this feeling of growing. There's this feeling of wanting to move forward and grow and learn and to shed that which is not our essence, because that which is not our essence is a weight, and what we are essentially is free. It's full of possibility. It's a creative force, really. And so sometimes the conditioning that we've undergone can hinder us, can kind of get in the way when we are working to discover what we truly are. And this can happen, and it probably will happen for all of us when we are serious about this learning and discovering and becoming what we are, without all of the extra stuff that's a hindrance. And again, perhaps not all conditioning hinders us from realizing our true nature, but a lot of it does, because a lot of it is limited. Some of it's limiting to the point of suffocation almost, where you really feel that weight coming in on you of expectations, of of what this place has said you ought to be, you ought to do, the way you ought to speak, the job you ought to have, the way you ought to function in this place. And those kind of ideas, those are the things that will they work against us when we're trying to grow, basically. And so we can't even try to make a list here of what those things would be, because we're all so unique, and our experiences are, and even if our experiences are similar, because we as individuals are so unique, the way we absorb or the way we respond to different experiences is going to be different, right? And we understand that because people can have very similar backgrounds or upbringings and have very different ideas about those things. So you can't even say, okay, if you have this, 1 + 1 is 2 here. It doesn't work with life, because we are all unique in our individuality within. We really, really are. We have similarities as well, but that's just how it is. So what then? What do we do? The only thing that I understand at this point that we can say kind of across the board here that we all can do is just be open. Just say, okay, I'm damn serious about this. I am open to seeing and understanding what is. Right? And remember, we mentioned early on in this series that, part of dealing with resistance is first and foremost looking at situations and seeing what is and accepting it and saying, okay, that's the starting point. And again, for this, that's the starting point, because a lot of these conditionings are deeply, deeply ingrained in us, and it goes beyond the words of someone speaking into a recording device. These beliefs and ideas and ideals that we have that have been built and strengthened over time feel like they are part of us, feel like it's us. It feels like it's me. It's very, very difficult to go in and really go in there and be open and say, okay, whatever is not of my true essence, I'm open. I am ready to receive true understanding and insight of what's really going on in me. That's from my own experience, that would be the first step. Now, word of caution, that's a beautiful, wonderful thing, to be open to the universe, creator, whatever it is that's kind of running the show, whatever the thing is, whatever the energy is. That's a good and beautiful thing, to be able to be in that position where it's like, you know what, to hell with this. I got to do this thing. Rolling up my sleeves. Let's do this. It's beautiful. However, the actual work of it is difficult, because, again, going in there, and first of all, when the light comes on, so to speak, and we're able to really see, because there is a response. When we say I'm ready, there is a response. It's like, okay, here you go. It's really difficult to look at that. It's really difficult to see it, to accept it, and to say, whew, okay, so that's what's really going on. But that's the first step, like we just said 5 minutes ago. Just see it. We're not making any plans now of demolishing it, of extracting it, of eradicating it, of destroying. We're not No, we just want to see what is. Oh, and again, for each of us, we're going to have different experiences here. So, but let's see how we can tie this up now. The thing is that when we're ready to get down to business and do the thing, it may feel discouraging sometimes because it feels like parts of us are dying. They're falling away. They're connected to memories and stuff, maybe even on a subconscious level. And it feels like something. It's not like we're dealing with objects and picking up an item and moving it from one place to another. This is real life stuff, and there's feeling and emotion and, like we said, memories and all kinds of, it's layered with stuff. But the good news is that even though it's difficult, it's like a surgery, doing surgery on yourself without the anesthesia. But the good news is that we're supported in that. You take that however that resonates with you. And a few recordings back, I think it was Living Our Truth, we were talking about once we are really serious, we are in partnership with something that assists us in the process of what we're doing now, we've undertaken. We're not alone. In this place, we may feel alone because if you're like myself, there may not be very many people around that are going through the same experience. In fact, there's probably not going to be other human beings around that are going to be like, holding your hand through this. But there is a support, and we feel it. We feel it in our hearts. And as we're growing and we're moving through it, that support is there, and all we need to do is go to it. And when you get to that place, you'll understand what we're saying. And it comes to us, and it's just like, okay, I can do this. So that's the great thing about this. Anyway, this is going long, so hopefully this has been informative and or encouraging to someone out there. And as always, we want to wish you much love. Bye.